I just wanted to briefly go over this application. I want to make sure I have the correct number of pieces. I'll wait.
We are now, okay, so the live streaming is now working. Okay, I'm not gonna let anybody in just yet. And then we'll start recording as soon as we do. What were you,
I just want to make sure I got all the parts to this application. There's a basement excavation, there's a stoop rebuild, there's a roof, new roof or additional roof, and a rear addition.
right, so it's a rooftop addition and a rear yard addition, which is why it was referred to us. Generally speaking, if they want one or the other, it can be approved at a staff level these days. For benefit of anybody who watches this on playback, but not anything else, oftentimes I get worried about full width additions, but in this case, it's not AB, it's AAAA. So by infilling, hey Madge, by infilling the rear yard for a full width addition, they're not creating a little alley next door because they're going right up against the existing L extension next door. So it's not as bad as it could be.
Yeah, it's not as if the space was entirely taken. It was already part.
Sometimes they create those little teeny slivers. Anyway, I'm gonna go get some water. I'll be right back. Madge,
Okay.
Great to see you.
Great to see you, Madge. You're muted. Unmute yourself. Can you unmute yourself?
I'm trying to use my
You got
iPad
it.
instead of my phone. I'm getting bigger and bigger on this.
Are you home or are you at your
I'm home.
sister's?
No,
Good.
no, I'm home today.
How's your sister feeling?
No improvement.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. But I've been away a lot, so that was fun. Been
Yeah.
out of town and just came back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
City's so bustling. It's funny. I left like 10 days ago. I came back and it was more lively than it was 10 days ago.
I know. I know.
Day.
What cross streets do you live on?
I live on 67th between the park and Columbus.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's crazy busy there.
Yeah.
And even with how much of Lincoln Center is open? At some point,
it's open.
really, at one point you couldn't get near the fountain area, but now you can.
You know, I haven't even walked over there.
I was actually on the phone today with the intergov person from Lincoln Center. And I understand better why they were closing it off now. They had to furlough virtually all of their, well, a huge number of their employees, including most of their security. And so they can't in good conscience leave the plaza unattended.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand it, even though it's a rotten shame. It's 6:27. I'm going to start the recording and let people in so that because hopefully the presenters will be among the attendees.
Okay, great. I noticed
we are recording.
In front of the Museum of Natural History, there are skateboarders.
Always, right?
And I'm sure they'd be at Lincoln Center too, if it wasn't closed off.
They sure are. They are always at the Columbus Circle fountain and things. So for sure. Hey, Kay.
Yeah.
The side of Dammers Park side is open. You can go and sit around there around Dammers Park.
Yeah, and I think that they've got Josie Robertson Plaza open now too. It's just not by the Vivian Beaumont and all that.
Yeah, back to with the committee tonight, we won't have Doug or Josh. Susan will be here for an hour and we won't have Peter. So that leaves Jay. Susan should be here in a second.
And the three of you.
Yeah,
five.
and I've asked Paige to join us. No, I didn't. I of course welcome her.
But she asked you, right?
No, I wrote to her. I said to her, This is what's going to be in front of the committee. When I knew that Peter, it was unlikely Peter would be here. I mean, I guessed a couple of hours ago. I asked her what she had to say about this application.
We
Okay,
have only one, right?
Just
Yeah,
one,
just
but
one.
it's got 4 parts. So
It's a little
I mean, well,
confusing because some of it, some of the stuff they, on the plans has already been approved by landmarks and so forth. This is-
And do we have
They've
anything to
minute it.
do with the basement excavation?
it would be something that we would include in our resolution for
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
Yeah.
I see that Sean Corsandi has joined us. Hi, Sean. And I'm not sure. I see Chris Menzuso, excuse me.
Menziuso, that's close enough.
Sorry. And
That's all right.
are you a neighbor or are you a presenter?
I am an architect for the project.
Great.
Very good. Then I'm going to make you a panelist so we can see as well as hear you.
Yeah, I asked Paige, I don't know if she'll appear or not, but I made the overture.
She'll be welcome
Okay.
if she comes.
Hey,
Could
Sean.
Could
Hello.
Sean in Paige's place?
No, I think Paige
Yes.
is coming.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going
Sue,
to
hi, Sue.
promote everybody.
Okay,
Um,
there's Susan.
Hey, Susan. And Asaph Drawer, are you part of the project or are you a community member? Can you help
I
us?
am actually the owner of the property. How are you? It's
Hi,
pronounced
nice to meet you.
Asaf. A
So I'm gonna
pleasure to
make you
meet you.
I'm going to make you a panelist too. Then everybody's all in the room. Of course, you don't have to turn your. Sean has a very interesting screen image.
Yeah.
Um, as one who grew up with lots of Lego around the apartment, I completely appreciate the self-styled minifig.
It was a 3D printing I got done.
Oh, nice.
Very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice. Good to
yeah.
see you, Sean.
I didn't know Legos drank coffee, but, or whatever that is.
Whatever they can get. Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just waiting on Jay, right?
Yeah. I haven't
see
heard
that.
either way.
I see
We're
that
waiting on
TW.
also, sorry, we're also waiting on Jackie. She is the consultant, landmark consultant, who's going to be presenting us as well here today.
Very good. She was helpful in getting me the materials that I could, in a way that I could access them. So
Mark, is there anybody else in the queue?
there is no one else under attendees.
Okay.
So we're just waiting on Jay.
So I've been working on my Zoom lighting, everybody. Whenever they take
Nice.
the pictures and put the picture of us in the Hollywood Squares and West Side Rag, I always look orange. Any tips? Do I have the wrong kind of light bulbs?
Only that I've seen on late night television that they actually now sell a thing you can clamp onto the back of your laptop, and it has sort of multi-spectrum light that will create the image you want for it. And you can do it like mood lighting, like you can come up here blue if you want to be scary, or flesh tones if you want that. And so the COVID has now spawned yet another cottage industry is the short answer.
See, Madge, your lighting looks really nice. You look like a nice healthy glow. I always look like I eat too many orange carrots. Yeah, you look great.
Oh, I just have one lamp in here. One little
Where
lamp.
is it, in front of you?
It's in front of me, right?
As convenient as Zoom is, hopefully we won't have to worry about the lighting too much longer. We'll be able to meet in person, even though it is convenient. I'm still hoping that we'll be able to meet in person.
It's gonna be a long time.
Hey, Jay.
I know.
Good evening, Jay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Jay.
All right, Kay, you want to do this?
I think they're waiting for Jackie. Are you waiting for Jackie?
Yeah,
yeah.
she should be on any second now. I don't know why she's
Oh,
not
here
on
she
already.
is. Okay, here she is.
Okay, good.
Okay, so I will be the guy who will put up your screen when your
Where's my-
slides when you're ready. And with that, I'll shut up and give it to the chairs of the committee, who are Michelle Parker and Kay Carpin.
Okay, you want to unmute yourself?
That would be good.
Oh,
Welcome. Thanks for being
Okay.
here. Our purpose as a preservation committee is to consider the appropriateness of the proposed changes or alterations. And then our role with the Landmarks Commission is advisory. We give our opinion. They often listen, sometimes don't. And so we're very eager to hear about this project. You're the only project in town for us tonight, so you have our somewhat undivided attention. And the rest of the committee members want to just introduce yourselves quick.
Hi, Michelle Parker, co-chair with Kay Carpin. Madge,
Madge Rosenberg,
Sue,
member of the committee.
Susan Schwartz.
Jay, and we have another board member with us, Paige. You need to unmute yourself.
Hi there.
Paige
welcome.
Kelly.
Thanks for being here. And then,
Yeah.
of course, our chair, Mark.
Yeah, and just for reference for the folks who are joining us, I am not a member of this or actually any committee except steering. So, and Paige is a member of the board, but not of this committee. So they will take two separate votes whenever that time comes. So don't think that it's in that we're saying anything about your project by not voting when the committee votes.
Understood.
All right, so it's your show. Tell us what you got.
Great. Ready to begin? Let's see. Is Chris here? Can he share his screen, or do we need to bring
Chris
up
is
the
here. Chris,
presentation?
Chris, unmute yourself, Chris.
Okay, wonderful. So does everyone see the presentation?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. So hello, members of the committee. My name is Jackie Pudu-Vallon. I'm the preservation consultant on the project. I'm here tonight with Chris Menziuso of Grasso Menziuso Architects and Asaf Dror, who's the owner of the property. Thank you for hearing our application tonight. We really appreciate your time. And also just thank you for continuing to serve our city during this difficult time.
Thank you, Jackie. Let me just, I'm sorry, let me just interrupt quickly. Is there
Mhm.
somebody able to take minutes? Did we take care of that, Michelle? It'd be good to have somebody do that for us.
I'm going to take minutes.
Okay, great, Michelle. So sorry, Jackie.
No problem.
It's all right.
So this project is 26 West 95th Street, which is an 1890s row house, which stands on the south side of the street between Central Park West and Columbus Avenue. The proposal you're seeing tonight is for the installation of a straight stoop, a rooftop addition, a 3-story rear addition with a deck and stair, and rear yard excavation. Now, in the 1920s, the facade of this house was stripped. Recently, LPC issued a permit to restore the front facade of the house. That's why you're seeing that in this elevation drawing here on the left. And then also farther to the left, you see the house in its current condition. And the next two images you see are the existing rear facade and the proposed rear facade. All right, next slide, please. Page 2.
What, I'm sorry, what was
Yes.
LPC's previous role in this project?
They have already issued a staff level permit for restorative work at the front facade. So in other words, recreating in brownstone stucco all of the details that were originally on this house.
Great.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the facade work that they've approved is represented by this proposed north elevation?
Yes, you're seeing that here because we need to show you existing and what's proposed and what you're yes,
We're glad that you did.
great.
I just want to know if it accurately represents what they've approved.
That's great. I
Yes,
was there for a visit this afternoon, and the house presently really stands out on the block, and it's going to be a nice, nice change.
Yeah, it looks
Right.
good.
I should point out on this elevation, what you're also seeing, in addition to the facade work that's already been approved, you're seeing the straight stoop, which is not approved by LPC yet, which is part of what we're showing you here tonight.
Yep.
And you also see the rooftop addition in these two elevations. Okay, so page 2, please. And here's the house's location in the northern end of the historic district, as you see outlined on the map, and also photos of what the rest of the south side of the block look like when you're looking west and looking east. Next slide, please. And here are photos of the north side of the street, which is characterized by row houses with a variety of revival styles. Next slide, please. And here are some historic photos to give you some background. Unfortunately, the 1930s tax photo was the earliest photo I could find of this house. So we don't have a photo of its original condition. However, all the historic documentation and the designation report from the Landmarks Commission cites that it was originally obviously built as part of this row with what you're seeing in the middle photograph, which is 28, 30, and 32 West 95th Street. So originally it had a facade pretty much identical to number 30, so the one in the center, which meant it also originally had a box stoop. And currently we do have a permit from Landmarks to restore a box stoop, but there's a wrinkle, so I'll get to that. Next slide, please. So basically, we've been told that we need to now ask Landmarks to consider installing a straight stoop because there's an issue with ADA compliance on the sidewalk if there's a box stoop installed where there's also a tree pit right in front of this house. So, so the
This
reason
is not the right, I'm sorry, this is not the right one. Okay.
It's okay, I'm getting there, don't worry about it. Well, okay, why don't you look at these details? Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll move to the next slide, which Asaf is right, explains it more clearly. But as you can see, there'd be rustication on the side of the stoop and a straight run. So in these two images, you can see what's currently proposed, which is the straight stoop and the proximity of the tree pit. And next to it on the left, you see the box stoop, which we actually have a permit from Landmarks for, but found out after the fact would not comply with necessary ADA clearance requirements because of the location of the tree pit. So, and all of this really only came to light late last week, early this week. We realized we had to come up with a different strategy because it was, this was all coming up very quickly that DOT was letting us know they couldn't approve the stoop installation because of the proximity of the tree pit. And then that meant reaching out to the Parks Department, who regulates the tree pits, and Parks Department basically saying it would take a lot of effort and probably a lot of expense to move this tree pit. So for that reason, Parks Department has encouraged us to apply to the Landmarks Commission for a straight stoop, which would restore the presence of a stoop on the building, but at the same time allow the necessary 5-foot ADA compliant clearance on the sidewalk. So again, what we're currently proposing is the plan drawing you see on the left. Next slide, please. Now let's transition to talking about the rooftop addition. So
I'm sorry,
this,
just give me a
yes,
second, please. I'm sorry. Mark,
yes.
did you promote Doug as a panelist? He's here.
And while we've paused, do you have a better drawing of that straight stoop from the front? What it would look like?
Can we go back? Can we just go back a
Mark,
couple
you're
of
muted.
slides?
I'm sorry, miss.
That's okay.
Hang on 1 second. I'm sorry, I can't see the panelists when we're sharing the screen because otherwise you'd see my share the screen thing. So thanks for letting me know that Doug is here. I am promoting him to panelist now, and then I'll go back to sharing my screen.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. So I'm sorry, someone had a question about what the stoop would look like. Can we go
No.
back? Why don't we go back 2 slides? Go back to page 5. Okay, so here, hopefully this answers your question. So if you look at the bottom elevations, east elevation and west elevation, that gives you the, details for the stoop. So
Also, if I may, Jackie, page number 1 gives with the front facade profile. She has the whole stoop as well. She'll be able to see exactly what it looked like on the building.
Mm-hmm. Looking straight onto the building, yes.
Yeah, looking straight on. If you go,
Right.
Chris, if you go to page 1, she'll be able to see it.
Okay.
So this straight stoop would be articulated with the same details as the box stoop. It would just be straight rather than a box, as it was original. So it would have rustication on the side. It would have this raised panel which, follows the line of the steps. The same articulation of the newel post. Should I go on to rooftop addition?
Yes.
Okay. Can we go to slide 7, please? So here you see in just close-up elevation, the rooftop addition viewed from this partial north elevation. The rooftop addition would be a little over 10 feet tall and then have above it a glass railing with a stair bulkhead behind. Next slide, please.
What's the height with the stair bulkhead?
The stair bulkhead is an additional 9 feet. So,
Just to clarify,
Yeah.
if I may, none of this is visible from the street or any angle in the street. This is not visible. This is not visible to anyone on the street. This is set back in a way that nobody will be able to see it.
yes, you'll see that later in the presentation. We have documentation on that.
Saw that.
Okay, next slide, please. So here is just the plans. So existing roof plan on the top. In the middle is the new rooftop additions plan. And then the roof plan showing the location of the bulkhead on top of it, on the bottom. Next slide, please. This is the existing roof looking north and south. And the axon on the left is to show you the massing of the addition at the roof and at the rear. Next slide, please. Here are the rooftop addition in sections. So the top is just a section through the existing roof, and on the bottom is the proposed, just to show you the outline of the addition. Next slide, please. Now here's the rooftop addition that was constructed, shown from the roof. I have to say it looks really nice. This is one of the nicest rooftop mock-ups I've ever seen. Next slide.
I was going to say that myself. I've never
Yeah.
seen
Yeah, it's
such a
helpful to have.
complete mock-up.
know.
You could
Size
close it up and that's your addition.
Right?
Yeah, the
I know.
perfect job is done.
You guys have done me proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now here is just the mock-up visibility photos showing you in the key plan, showing you where these photos were taken from and demonstrating that this rooftop addition is not visible from the street. Next slide, please. And now let's talk about the rear addition. So there's an existing 3-story L. The proposal is basically to square that off and have a 3-story full width addition.
Can I
Yes.
interrupt? I
Yes.
apologize. Since we're going now to the rear addition, can you talk on the rooftop addition, the materials and?
Oh yes, good questions. Okay, let's go back to,
So
should
we can
go
do
to
it one
elevation?
at a time.
Okay. Let's see, where should we go with that? So it's going to be just clad in stucco because that's a typical, more utilitarian material to use for a rooftop accretion. Something that will, look like something you typically see in the roofscape. There will be glass railings. There's a glass railing on top of the addition. Then the bulkhead itself would have cement stucco as well. Let's see, does that answer your question?
Well, it's stucco and what color?
It'll be matching the brownstone.
Matching the brown?
Just a dark,
So it's a dark.
yeah, a dark brown.
And just quickly, the location of any windows, doors?
Yes, there are windows, glass doors located at the front of it, which you can see partially in this elevation.
Mhm.
And why don't we go to the rear elevation slide? Advance to which page? Let's see, we won't see it here.
No, you
Actually,
don't see it.
No, actually, no, I'm sorry, we do see it here. What am I saying? So at the back, it's, no, wait, no. Brick, is that correct? We're showing brick at the back of it as well? Stucco in the front, brick in the back?
So we're showing brick up to the 4th floor, 1, 2,
Right.
3, 4. I guess we're showing brick also on the 5th floor as well.
Okay.
That may be a mistake, by the way, Jackie. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
I think we've been so consumed with the stoop this week that
I think so. I think it's
we
just
forgot to
so-
question this.
Yeah, so it's where it says that it's a brick on metal wall, that's not accurate?
I'm not
Which
sure
is-
if it's going to be brick on metal wall or it's going to be stucco. Chris, I think that you're going to have a problem with brick on a metal wall. Am I correct?
I mean, there are a lot of ways to deal with that detail. It's a question of what the product is going to be acceptable, and we can make it work. So
Okay.
I can make
But
it
I
work
think
either
our
way.
intention,
This was, I can make it work either way. It's what's going to be acceptable.
If the
Okay.
committee has any strong opinions on the cladding for the rooftop addition, we would welcome hearing it.
I mean, all things being equal, I mean, just a personal preference, I prefer a brick to stucco.
Mm. Okay.
I would say we often like the top addition to, stand out as an addition, but in this case, the brick might be a better
Okay.
solution.
I mean, typically, as I'm sure you know, the Landmarks Commission typically asks applicants to articulate an addition in a different material to make it stand out from the body of a building.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the committee feels it's appropriate, we could definitely keep it as brick at the rear, stucco in the front. My concern is that, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess if it's not visible, it doesn't really matter what it might look like from the street. But
Well, you're
Yeah, if you-
restoring the facade
yes,
as a brownstone facade.
yes, yes.
So a stucco in the color of brownstone would be, in my opinion, less articulated than brick.
Brick, yes.
So in that sense, I echo what Kay
Mhm,
said and what Landmarks always says, what they
mhm.
is they like a new addition to be recognizable as a new addition and
But-
contrasting materials. So you asked what our preference would be. I can only speak for myself.
Mhm.
The
would
difference
be
here
my-
is that it looks like the entire rear facade will be considerably altered, and so that makes me think about it in a slightly different way. So,
Mhm.
And that
Well-
looks like it's going to be brick.
Right.
and it
Well,
looks like it's deeper.
at the rear, I mean, yes, you'd have the new 3-story full width addition. Then you'd have the 4th story rear facade left alone, leaving that brick undisturbed, and then have brick at the rear of the addition.
Okay, right.
So, if you have any comments about leaving it as brick at the back, please let us know.
Is nobody from the community on this issue? Because there are people from next street over who will be looking at this.
Right, anybody who backs up on the donut might have
Mhm.
a thought, but I don't think there's anybody here.
Paige, do you have any comment about that?
I have comments on each topic. I wanted to hold my tongue until you
Okay.
guys had asked your initial questions. And some of mine have been built on things that your committee have already raised. So I have 6 parts, 6 questions, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you for inviting me. My landing committee is on the paywall, so Mark is doing this to make sure I stay involved. Thank you, Mark. Okay, so for the stoops, I've had this problem before, and there's more than one way to get around DOT. If you could go
Yeah.
to the stoop issue.
I'm sorry, are we done with the presentation, or should we?
Yeah, we haven't, we
I
haven't
thought that was-
actually, we haven't
Oh,
gone
sorry.
through what's
Michelle?
happening at the rear.
Let me go at the end, okay?
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
Thank
I
you.
just,
No, I'm happy.
so
that's okay.
my final request is before you go on to the rear yard addition, just give us the height, depth, and square footage of the rooftop.
Okay.
Proposed rooftop.
The height of the occupiable space portion of the addition will be 10 foot 4 inches. And then there would be a 9-foot stair bulkhead above that.
Okay. And how many square feet is the new addition? The proposed addition?
Maybe Chris, the architect, can answer that. I don't know.
Let me see if I can get you that information. Give me a moment.
Sure.
I don't know if we have square footages on these plans.
While he's working on that, should we just advance and I just show you the rear yard excavation, the changes
Sure.
to the rear
Yeah,
yard?
keep going. That's fine.
Okay. So here's just some more photos to give you context. So where you're seeing the gentleman standing on the top of the L, that is the house in question. You're looking at the rear facade in the upper half and lower half on either side of these, either side of the page. Next slide. Excuse me. And looking at the view from standing on top of the rear L, looking east and west. Next slide. Looking into the donut, of course, that's all foliage right now, so it's hard to see what the backs of the neighboring houses look like. But on this slide, I would like to point out that in the photo on the left, which I think that is maybe that's 40 or 41. I'm not sure what the address of this is, but where you see this, where it looks like there's two houses that have been unified. Yes, where he's circling. Thank you. This house has, well, both houses in this view have sizable rooftop additions, but also within the green space, you have what looks like to me a one-story rear addition that spans both backyards. I'm assuming this house is inside at the interior serves as one building because it has a rooftop addition that spans both houses also. But it's just interesting to me that there is a rear yard addition that is built from the lot line and going in and not actually connected to the rear L's of those houses. And that's obviously relevant for us because we're proposing a rear addition right nearby. Next slide, please. Now, these are just historic maps to show you how the site has, how this block has changed over time. So you're looking at the 1902 Sanborn on the top, 1951 Sanborn on the bottom. Next slide, please. 1980 Sanborn on the top and 2005 Sanborn on the bottom. Next slide. And this is the current block plan where you can see highlighted in purple the existing one-story additions that are in the block, the locations of, well, you can see them at really at either end of this side of 95th Street. There was a recent two-story addition approved at number 6, and at the other end of the block at number 44, there was a 3-story addition full width, very similar to this project, approved at number 44 West 95th Street. I also want to point out that there were also recent rooftop additions approved on this side of the block, which you see highlighted in the red hatching on top of the buildings, including at number 34. That addition has been approved. That was a C of A that was issued within the last month or two. So my point in showing you this block plan is that there have been recent additions within the last few years for full width additions within this block and also rooftop additions. Next slide, please. This is just a section giving you the sight line. Also, another demonstrating again that from across the street, you would not see this rooftop addition. Next slide, please. This is just cellar plans. Next slide. Basement plan. There will be extension of the landscaping, I should say hardscaping, in the rear yard. Next slide. There will be some excavation associated with this, so you can see that highlighted by the color coding in this in these two plans. Next slide. And this is just the condition of the existing rear yard. Next slide. And this is our final slide, just to end on being able to show you the proposed front elevation, proposed rear elevation, and the axon that shows you the massing of the additions. So should we go back to the question of how many square feet is the
Yeah,
rooftop
It's
addition?
about 650 square feet.
650. Okay. Now, should we do Paige's questions? Hi, Paige, nice to see
Actually,
you.
if I can,
Mm-hmm.
since Paige herself said she wanted to be last,
Okay.
I'll try to use up. You mentioned hardscape
Mm-hmm.
in the rear yard, and over the years, our committee has always encouraged as much green space as possible, and where it's not pure green space, trees, plantings, etc., permeable surfaces. So can you elaborate a little bit as to what the plan is for the rear yard?
Well, really just to pave the entire thing in bluestone. We can reconsider that. Since the owner's right here, we can talk
Yeah,
with him about
Jackie,
that.
my wife would definitely not just approve if I decided to, just bluestone. She would definitely want planters around and plants around for sure. We now live in the suburbs, and green is very important to us. Obviously, you know, within the maintenance issue, it's very difficult to maintain cutting grass and things of that nature in the rear yard. However, we will have planters around and definitely greenery around, just not just bluestone.
But
Have you considered, I mean, there are, and maybe Paige can help me out on this. There are stone, based surfaces that are more permeable than just solid bluestone.
I haven't considered that, no, Jay.
could you consider it, please?
Sure, like what would you suggest?
Grass. Grass and a weed whacker.
Grass will be more difficult for me to maintain, I'll be very frank with you. But maybe a smaller section of planting or things of that nature, a bigger section of planting, that I would consider.
I think a very typical formation of rear yards. I know I live in a high-rise building, but the rear of my apartment looks out on a donut with several, between West End and Riverside, with the backyards of several brownstones. And at least a few of the ones I can see, several of them have hardscape, but around the perimeter, they have a border, if you will. I don't know, I'm guessing, 3 or 4 feet of plantings, some trees, which.
That I would definitely consider, absolutely. I would do planting around the perimeter for sure. I would consider that.
Well,
for
that's
sure.
good. I mean, that's helpful. And I frankly, I think it enhances the property anyway.
I agree.
And
I agree.
makes your neighbors happier.
Makes us happy also.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I appreciate it. It's good that you would consider that.
Great.
Thank you.
Anything else from the committee? More questions from Jay or anybody else from the committee?
I think I'm good.
No questions from me.
Okay.
I have a non-committee question. Maybe a little unconventional. You said that the additional total addition is 650 feet. Obviously, that's.
Doug, can you turn up your volume?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me now?
That's a little better, yeah.
I'm sorry. No, this is just maybe an unconventional question, but I know you're adding 650 square feet to the addition. Do you know what the total cubic square footage is? Obviously you got the footprint of 650.
It's 650 square feet.
Yes, 650 square feet is the footprint. What is the cubic square footage?
I would not. I don't know.
Yeah, I can give you
About
that.
6,500.
Yeah, if it's 10 feet 4 inches.
Forward.
Right. Yeah. So 10.
If
10
you
times.
remem-
Okay. I mean, I know
I
it's
don't
not
remember
equal.
my geometry.
Yeah, but well, if it's
It's not
straight,
that hard, Jay.
yeah,
you know,
well, you have
I think the
unusual.
question Jug is asking really is what's the ceiling height? Because we know 10.4 is the
Right.
is the height, the overall height, but some of that's going to be structural, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So what's the ceiling height inside the addition?
Okay.
so probably somewhere around nine and change.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes
Cut it
sense.
to 9 times 650. Right. Okay, thank you.
All right. Should we go to Paige if everybody else is okay? She'll probably raise some things that we want to know about anyway.
Paige, tell me where you want to go.
To the first slide with the stoop on it, please.
I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but this is what I got.
Right.
That's good for me. And I also want to thank the applicant for being so thorough with the comparisons. It's usually very difficult to follow these, and it makes my job easier to comment. So thank you. The first thing is about the stoop. And I appreciate the angst and tribulation with DOT, but being a preservationist in New York, you have to deal with them as gently as you do with the Landmarks Commission. But there may be a way before you decide on changing this stoop to respect the original architects, Neville and Bagg's original design. And by way of 3 questions, did you do a tally of all of the buildings, of the brownstone buildings on this block, both sides of the street that still had the stoops? And
we're in process. We're in process of that. This issue just came to a head really late last week, and the determination was just made early this week, and then the drawings were just completed literally today to be able to show this to you today. But we do intend to do a survey of both sides of the block to include in the hearing presentation. We just didn't have time to do it for tonight.
Okay, because my experience has been that if you demonstrate that your incursion on the sidewalk is no greater than anyone else, they can't deny you because you are doing a restorative building. And my problem with this is that all the care that you've taken to put the detail back, even though it's going to be stucco and not rebuilt brownstone, it's a cheat because you're not actually restoring this building.
Yeah, it's definitely not our preference. It's not our preference, but I just wanted, before you go on, I just want to tell you that we did make this decision in consultation with senior staff at Landmarks, who encouraged us to take this route and see what would happen at public hearing, basically.
Right.
That's their prerogative. I'm not a member of the commission. I just know that our street, I have a brownstone on 88th Street with the box stoop, and I wouldn't be able to remove it, even though it's falling down and my co-owner can't pay for it. It's going back in a narrow spot, and it's not the only brownstone in New York that has that condition. So I find it unusual that with all the effort and the money and the time that the owner is putting into this building, that you're not making one last try to be able to make it work. And the way you can make it work is frankly tighten up on the dimension of the landing. It doesn't need to be as big as you have drawn it. That's one way that you can minimize. If you look at your own drawing, if you look at the one on the right, first floor proposed enlarged stoop, instead of going, sorry, you had one that had the stoop dimension on it. The dog leg, the box one. Where is that?
Right there.
There you go. So if you look at the dimension, 5'10" for the upper part to the bottom step, and then you have 6'2", you can actually narrow that 6'2" to create the extra foot and 3 inches that you need. And also, since it's a replication, as long as you follow the profile of the knee wall, and I'm assuming it will probably have railings on either side because the stoop knee walls tend to be low. It's a much better idea. You also don't need the wide landing pad, as it were, as you enter to that first step. So it's only a suggestion, but I've seen this work in the past and on the east side.
Ms. Kelly, I would agree with you 100%, by the way. I'm the owner. This is Asaf, how are you? I agree with you. Our preference was and still is the box too. The problem is, and by the way, it was approved with the box tube at Landmarks initially, because that was our intention and still is our intention. Right. However, senior people at Landmark have spoken to senior people and probably one of the head people at the Department of Transportation regarding this matter. And because
Parks Department.
And Landmarks.
And Parks Department.
And the Parks Department as well, correct.
I'm here to offer advice. And I'm here to tell you there's a way. And they're not, the Department of Parks and Landmark and Transportation are not the Landmarks Commission. There are ways that you can have your cake and eat it too. Enough said. Okay. Let's move on.
No so, Paige, so Paige, just your suggestions. I don't have an expertise in the compliance, but you're summing it up. You're saying that there is a way to do it so that it comes out to be compliant, because that's a statutory requirement.
It is, but Parks Department does give waivers. I've done many buildings on Madison.
Do they have the authority to waive ADA compliance?
It's not ADA.
I don't think so.
No, not waive this design. You have to change it so that you have the passage that is ADA accessible.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So that's why I'm suggesting modify by squeezing the lower staircase narrow, because they don't have to be that big. And this, I've seen this in Greenwich Village and all sorts of places. If you provide—
When there's no room, you're correct. However, here we don't have enough.
So you create the room, because I think it's more important.
Even by squeezing it, not even by going ahead and actually making that stoop a lot lower, a lot smaller, you cannot. They are very strict about the 5-foot clearance. They will not allow it less than 5 feet. They told me that when I spoke to the head of the Department of Transportation, as well as the head of Parks Department, as well as Landmarks, one of the heads at Landmarks, they all said to me, unfortunately, that because of the location of the tree with the stoop, it is too close. And even if we modify the stoop, unfortunately, the only way to modify it will be very, very small. It will not be a real stoop at that point in time any longer, a box stoop. It would be approximately 2.5 feet as opposed to 6.2 feet, and that's not acceptable.
You're not listening, but that's okay. I'm going to put this in my statement. You can choose to ignore it, but there are ways, and DOT will work with you if you reach the right people. Can we move on? Because I have some other concerns.
Go for it.
Sure.
Go ahead, Paige.
So the other one is the rooftop addition. And frankly, the setback in the donut. And again, we went to a great deal of trouble to point out all of the modifications and track the width and height. But my concern with this rooftop addition and the rear addition is that I believe when I looked at the mapping on a different map, not yours, because I tried to do some homework before, there are only, I think, 3 buildings in the donut that have the very large build out. Everything else is a dog leg, either left or right or paired.
Could we go to page 19, please, so everyone can see what she's talking about? Thank you.
No, I appreciate it.
There you go.
That one. If you look at the donut is relatively intact with the space, because these yards are only 30 feet deep, and then there's usually 18 or 12 feet for these smaller additions. And when you start closing them up, given the fact that, okay, the building on, I think it's 29 and 27 that have done this super mansion trick. All the other ones are very diminutive, and what they do is they allow light and air to get to the properties. So my concern is with the, because when one person does it, it starts a whole rush for everyone to start expanding it. And I think even if you are going to expand it, I have problems with it going all the way to the rooftop. And if we can go to next to the elevation, the proposed of the rear yard.
No, the addition would not, it would not disturb the top story. Is that what you're saying? It would be 3
Yeah,
stories and
3
then,
stories. Right, with a terrace on 2 of those floors, which don't typically have terraces. And then you have the setback with another terrace. And then you have a rooftop with another terrace, but no construction, only to access, I'm assuming, a recreation area and the bulkhead for the lift, right? The elevator. That's the only thing on the top, as well as maybe mechanical equipment.
There's no
Miss
elevator.
Cow- there is an elevator.
There is
There's
an
no
elevator.
shaft.
No, there is no
There's
elevator
no
to the
There's
stair
no
bulkhead.
The
shaft.
Right.
bulkhead
That
is only
bulkhead-
for the staircase, nothing else.
That bulkhead
Right.
is for the staircase.
Okay, that was not made clear. Anyway, and then I think here you went to a great deal of trouble to argue for brick, even though I know Landmarks doesn't always, or used to always specify a less noble material for the rooftop addition. But in this case, you're doing a restoration and a continuation of a facade that carries its original brick. I'm hoping that you're, because I know that you're having to replace all the windows and shift them. They're not going to be the way they currently are. If I'm correct, you have them aligned on the lower 3 floors with the new windows, the new doors to the backyard and your terrace. And that is adding an enormous amount of bulk. And frankly, glass is very reflective when it's used like this as a barrier. And I'm concerned, I don't know what the neighbors will think or what the people living directly across the way, but it can be an environmental issue for the rest of the block to have that. And I also question as to whether or not the rooftop addition needs to be so all 3 floors, not just the bottom 2. At least that keeps it lower, and the sight line down the rear yard donut is more or less preserved. I think the other questions my colleagues have answered. Oh, and for the front and the back, since this will be south facing, are you planning to put awnings on these windows and the doors on the rear facade?
No.
no.
Okay, and for the front facade, are you planning to put security grills?
No.
Just the
Only
one
where it exists. There's an existing security grill in the basement level.
In
It's
the
gonna stay.
basement, it's being shown only.
That's the only one. Okay.
That's existing.
And the cautionary tale owning a brownstone where we do have the rear yard is that make sure you have adequate drainage, because in disturbing the ground, you're going to need not only the main sump or drain in the center, but an overflow, because your neighbors will not think kindly when your backyard starts to overflow into theirs, because they have more or less, from what I could peek into, the most of everybody's rear yards have the perimeter, very narrow planting with the perimeter pavement, in the middle is grass or some other ornamental piece.
So we will have an overflow drain in the backyard. They're going to be two drains, one regular drain, one overflow drain.
Okay, because that's important. Back. And
yes. And as far as the,
sorry,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
My last question is, how high is
sure.
the fence going to be around your backyard?
It's going to be very similar right now. You can see a fence in the backyard now, I believe. It's going to be that's the neighbor's yard. We're just going to basically put a fence on our side in the same height.
I know, but it's at the picket one or the one that is much taller?
I would go with the picket height. I would not go with a much taller one.
That needs a variance to be able to get that height. And
you'd rather have, no, yeah, that's too high for me.
6 feet is the maximum permitted height.
Yeah.
Right.
I would go, that's what I would do.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And just to clarify to the board, with regards to the 30-foot setback, that 30-foot setback will only occur after the extension is there. Right now, there's more than a 30-foot setback. Once the extension is built, then you'll have a 30-foot setback in the backyard. And just to clarify to the board as well, 44 West 95 was approved and built almost an identical proposition to what I'm saying with reference to the rear yard and the rooftop addition. And that was done very recently. And that's at 44 West 95th.
44, yeah.
And I would like to thank Paige for her very thoughtful comments as usual. It's nice to see you again, Paige. It's been a long time. Hi. With regard to your concerns about the rear yard addition, I hear what you're saying about the importance of maintaining rear Ls and retaining that type of interior blockscape where there are a predominance of rear Ls. But I would say that this is not a case where you have a pristine interior block. The commission has already approved full width additions. There's some other incursions of additions within the block. And we're also not going to be diminishing really the light and air for the neighboring houses by doing this addition, because it's not going to extend farther than the existing rear L. It's just really going to be squaring it off. So it will, you know, if anyone's going to lose light and air, it's this own house's backyard. In terms of, yeah.
The other question was, while you're describing this, are you making any windows in the party walls of the new addition?
No, that's never
Okay.
been a consideration, no.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Let's see. I think that's it for my comments. Does the owner or the architect want to share anything else?
I thank the board for their time. I really do. Thank you so much for everything. And
Yes, thank you for your time and
Didn't the,
questions.
Kay and Michelle, didn't the description include an excavation?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yes.
That's only for the,
Rear yard, like it's the commission has to approve the change in grade at the rear yard. So that's why we included those plans toward the end of the presentation.
So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different parts to this application, if I may.
Well, the straight stoop,
Right?
the rooftop, the straight stoop, the rooftop addition,
Right.
rear addition,
Rear addition.
excavation in the back.
Oh, I have basement excavation.
The basement, that was a mistake. That was taken off because it's really going to be a crawl space. It's not really going to be excavating to a point where the commission has to make it part of a hearing review.
Okay.
But there is
Okay.
a rear yard excavation. Okay, so 1,
Yes.
2, 3,
How
4,
deep is that? How
So it's
deep is that
really-
excavation?
So it's really 3 parts that we have to consider: the stoop, the rear yard, and the rooftop.
How deep is that rear yard excavation?
And the straight stoop.
Right.
I
Chris, do you
said
want to?
this. I said
right.
the stoop,
Oh, okay.
the
Chris, do
rear
you wanna-
yard, and the rooftop.
and also the rear extension.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
I
rear
think of
yard.
it as 4 things, but whatever. We'll get there.
Whatever. When I said rear yard, I meant rear yard.
Yes.
addition.
Sorry,
I
I
see.
apologize.
That's okay.
All right.
I should have been more.
So can we get an answer to
explicit.
Madge's question? How deep is the excavation in the rear yard?
Yeah, I'd like Chris to address that.
give me a moment. I'm
Okay.
gonna give you that answer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thumbing through the slides.
It's- With respect to the rear yard excavation is solely a change in grade.
Yes.
Right.
That's correct. So 105. Let's see, existing.
Change in grade.
I think we better add a section to the presentation for this.
Yeah,
Actually,
because we
if I
see,
could add, when
we
you
see,
put the section- Sorry, sorry, Mark. Can you add the staircase from the second level down to the rear yard? Because that's not shown in your diagram, the axonometric.
What's on the axle?
I didn't see it, but maybe I'm blind.
No, no, you're right. It should be there.
Okay.
Oh, say that again?
I'm sorry, it's on the proposed south elevation. You see the staircase coming down.
Yes, but it's not on the axle.
Yeah.
Because there's a setback and the ground floor in the rear yard sticks out more. And then you have the staircase to the halfway point or whatever it was. I can't remember the plan, but it sticks out on the, I guess it would be the west side of the, no, the east side of the building.
East side.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Paige, what you're saying is that this should be considered separately?
No, I just want to make sure that it's included in the presentation because the axonometric doesn't conform to the rear addition that shows the terrace.
Yes.
There's no place on the second floor that describes setback to the terrace.
Okay, thank
Right.
you.
Good.
We're gonna have to cut a section to give you those exact numbers with respect to that that excavation because I need to see the existing elevation is roughly 105.32, and we're gonna bring it back up to 105.32, but I'm gonna have to excavate down to get proper curbs in there and proper drainage, obviously, and pitch. So I really need to cut a good section in there to get that final answer for you, based on these drawings I'm looking at now.
Okay.
We sometimes see proposals that include swimming pools underneath the rear yard. That's not
Yeah.
what you're doing.
I don't have a swimming pool.
You want to make
Don't give anybody any ideas, Mark.
What happens after?
With all due
I
respect,
can't
would
tell you, but
Would you
Not on
consider
this
a swimming pool in the
presentation.
backyard? Like, I'm joking.
No, we think there's a stream running through there. You can't do it.
I'm joking. I'm totally joking.
no.
How about if it's only grass around the pool? How about that?
Exactly.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Grass around the pool. And we'll throw in a lawnmower for you.
Somebody else had a question?
I had a comment if somebody has a moment.
Please.
Please.
I just thought that that the fenestration on the top floor and then on as I'm viewing it, I assume this is the rear yard addition, the rooftop addition, the rear
Yes.
yard part of it. It would look so much more in keeping with the usual run of these things in rear yards if the post, I'm sorry, if the
Lintels?
lintels were all on the same line. And even better if they lined up with the building next door on either side. I can't tell from the way it's presented whether they're intact that way. And then again here, I assume one of these is a door and the other two are windows. It just would seem a more unified and more in keeping with the usual rear yard presence to have that lined up in some kind of way, whether it's increasing this or decreasing that, I'm not sure.
Well, sorry, if I'm understanding your question correctly.
I agree with that too. Peter.
All right,
Hey,
so
Peter's here.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm here.
Can I-
agree with that.
can I just test for understanding? Are you saying that at the fourth story with the top floor of the existing building, you'd want to
Top
see
floor.
you'd want to see
Oh,
the
the existing.
lintels?
Got it.
You would want to see the
Lining
lintels
up,
lining
yeah.
up?
On the top, yes. I would want to see the lintels lining up because the terrace is going to obscure the bottom of them. So creating a door out of one of those window openings is something we see quite frequently.
Right.
But generally we make an effort to keep especially the top plane, which is, I assume, going to be coplanar with the buildings on either side, that it have a unified approach there. I feel less strongly about the rear facade of the rooftop addition, but why not? But certainly with that, because that's the unifying element that brings your new building back into plane with its neighbors on either side.
Well, the thing is, Landmarks always asks applicants doing similar work to leave the top floor rear facade intact and untouched. So that's where the lintels line up currently, and we're trying to leave them alone to leave the top floor as it is.
Yeah, but you're creating a whole new facade back there. So if you were preserving the L extension, then I would completely accept that argument. But you're not. So if that were the proposal, then
Yeah.
that's how I would see it.
No, but Mark,
think-
if I may, we are only changing the first 3 stories. The 4th story is staying as is. So we are enclosing the L for those 3 stories.
Okay.
That
okay.
4th story stays as is, Mark.
I hear
We
you.
are not, net landmarks will not allow us to touch that 4th story.
Yeah,
So what
I
we're
would think
enclosing,
fair enough.
I'm sorry.
Fair enough. I still think that it would look better the other way. But if that's
Mhm.
what landmarks is going to draw the line in the sand, then I respect that.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Following on Mark's question, can you just confirm, because I'm now confused, the first floor above the garden level has a terrace setback with stairs, and then it
No,
rises.
no. Does that right, Paige? I thought this was a metal thing that jutted out.
No,
It's
there's
metal.
It's a staircase that comes down.
No, but I
Yes.
think the platform is also sticking out of the facade of the building, is
That's
it
what
not?
I'm saying. That's
Yes.
Well, it has to.
That's correct.
Yes.
Right? So
That's a
my
deck
first,
that
Okay.
off the back.
you can just give me, because it's not shown in your drawings. The
You're
second,
right.
on the first, second, third, the 4th floor,
Mhm.
Yeah.
4th floor being, it should be level with where your little hand is now and on your axonometric, but it's not.
I think if you-
There's cantilevered, it would appear that access where the door is a cantilevered terrace as well, a balcony.
I think some of this has to be looked at in plan. If we start at slide 29.
I'm just
Page
starting
29.
to hear
Yeah.
my colleagues and getting confused. Okay,
So,
take me through the rear additions, please.
So
or
that-
the committee.
so just to start on the first, what we're calling the first floor, there's a basement and then obviously a first floor. So this is one level up. This is the deck with the step. Go back one. This is the deck that we're referring to with the stair. It's not on the axon, but it definitely is shown in plan. And then if you go down one, we go back one slide, which is the basement level. Oh, you went up. There you go. You see a portion of that stair because now we're cutting below it, and then you're seeing the line above for the entire rear yard.
So the deck is also going to be shown, and how far does that protrude from the rear of the existing or whatever the new full
The
width?
depth of that is, I can give you that. If actually, can you zoom? Can you zoom?
I'm
You go up
looking
one?
for it.
Can you go up one slide?
What do you mean go up?
I
You know,
think
next slide.
it's 7, it says 7 feet
I'm
on the
getting it.
bottom of it. On the bottom of it, you'll see it's a 7 feet something. Like, it's very hard to see on the plans.
Hold on,
getting it.
hold on. Let me see if I can zoom. Yeah, up.
I'm gonna try going into my plans.
If you can
It
go to the
looks,
next slide.
it looks wider than 7 feet. maybe-
I'll get you the right size. I'll get you the right size.
Because your neighbors will be interested in that, because that's
Mhm.
another
Sure.
privacy.
I'm gonna,
7'10".
okay, there you go.
Thank you. Okay, and then keep going up on your proposed. So that's the living room level, the parlor floor.
Right.
Bring your clean, enjoy good health, Michelle. Bring your.
And then the next one. Now, there's no balcony here.
There's no balcony here. This is what would be the third level, basement 1 and 2.
Yes. The 4th floor, which is the top.
That's where the roof of the existing enlargement stops.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm confused then what's shown on the 3rd floor.
Where are the windows?
Well,
Here,
Yes.
door, window.
correct.
So it's the door that's at the different height.
That is correct.
Yes.
And is that going, you have it as a terrace with a deck on it? I mean, that looks like an EPDM roof rather than a terrace, but it would presumably be used as a terrace?
That's being used as a terrace.
Okay, so I'm still confused then with where that third floor glass balcony railing is.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So it now covers just the entire edge of that, even though it's not shown as a railing. It's not a coping.
Well, there has to be some, depending on where you cut this, there has to be some kind of curb, right? I have to be able to flash my roofing properly and get my can strip in there. And then on top of that is a railing.
It doesn't read that here. This doesn't show that there's any protection.
It shows it on the facade. It shows it on facade work.
Yes, as
This panel.
a glass panel, but it doesn't
Correct.
go cheek to cheek.
It goes cheek to cheek from one side to the other.
Well, then you should look at your elevation. I may be wrong. I've
So
only been looking
just-
at it for 40 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
No, we appreciate your comments. So we'll look at that.
Thank you.
Did you consider something more like a railing than glass?
Asaf?
I believe that Landmarks, actually, Amy at Landmarks proposed glass versus railing because of the visibility aspect of it.
Yeah,
Jackie.
it's not typical for rear yards, is it?
No,
I wouldn't mind on the rear yard to do a railing, by the way. That I wouldn't mind that at all.
yeah, I would second Mark on that.
I have no issue with that.
In a funny way, I think a railing would blend into the woodwork, as it were, more than a glass railing would, especially with light bouncing off it and so forth on a south-facing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, it's a good point. I would agree.
I'm 100%. I'm with you 100%. No issue at all.
Okay, so
Sorry, because I'm taking notes and looking at the same time. These glass railings are on what floor now?
Top of the third floor and the top of the rooftop, top of the main building, if you will.
Right. Just Mark, I think you want to differentiate the front from the rear. I think the rear.
In the rear.
The rear, yeah.
Rear.
I would argue all of them, but I feel more strongly about the rear.
I think I'm with Mark. All the railings on the rear should be metal.
Okay, and the
Yeah,
owner
and I-
said that he would consider that and actually maybe even prefer that.
And that is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Michelle, how are we gonna move this along through?
Maybe we should end the plans for a minute.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we got it.
Okay. So
By
there
the way,
was,
my wife is sitting next to me, keeps on saying, "Can I say hi? Can I say hi?" She wants to say hello. So
Okay, great.
hi.
Hi.
This is
All
Jackie, by
right.
the way.
Hi, Jack.
Hi.
Oh,
Nice
hi.
to meet
Yeah.
you.
Chris.
Welcome to
So-
the neighborhood.
Yes, congratulations.
So
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to all of you for this really fruitful discussion. I think we were lucky tonight to be your only item. I want to ask you if there could be a way for us to do this a little less according to the usual routine, which is, could we come back to you in a few days with some drawings and show you some revisions we've made based on your comments before you move forward on your resolution? I don't know if that meets your parliamentary procedure or whatever. I'm just asking if we can do that.
Are you calendared? at
We're
Landmark?
calendared for October 6th.
It's not going to work.
No?
When's our full board, Mark?
October 6th.
Oh,
So
In the
you would,
evening.
okay.
yeah. What I think would make sense here, Michelle and Kay, tell me what you think. What might make sense is to have a resolution tonight that lays out whatever the committee's thinking is about all the issues that have been discussed, in the form of either recommendations or conditions, whichever you all decide they should be, as to variations from the plan. Given the number of them, I'm wondering whether this is one where we maybe should make sure that we have a full board vote, but I'll leave that to you as well. And then Jackie, if I can call you Jackie.
Yes.
If you wanted to confirm between now and full board, which is the evening of October 6th, which of
Oh.
those recommendations you're going to accept, and we can eliminate them as conditions, then we can always pivot on that. Michelle and Kay,
Okay.
does that make sense to you guys?
Yes, I think
Is there
so.
any
I mean,
comments
I
from the
think
public?
that we can do it in the form of recommendations with noted that they've been accepted. And if the presentation to landmarks is revised to reflect that, the applicant can get that to us, and we can present them as being done at full board.
Yeah, I agree with Jay.
So Mark, if full board isn't meeting until that evening, how do we do anything at landmarks, or do we have to take
So
that up?
there is a procedure. Jay can explain it as well as anybody on earth can, because it was his handiwork in negotiating with landmarks about waiting for a full board vote for some things and going forward with a committee resolution without a full board vote. Considering the number of discussions we've had tonight, I leave it to you to decide whether you're comfortable with just a committee vote on this. It would seem to me, well, it's yours to decide. I should shut up.
Well, one of the considerations in the agreement that we made with landmarks about honoring our request when we feel full board is necessary is that we would be judicious in our requests, and we've always wanted to consider the situation with the applicants. We don't want to. One of the standards was not to create unnecessary delay in the application process, because we just want to be fair.
Thank you, Jay.
I guess my question is, there's no way for us to know tonight, for example, I don't know what the schedule is of landmark hearings. Typically they do at least, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, they can do them every Tuesday, but they generally don't. I mean, sometimes they're 2 weeks apart.
We can look that up.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay, great.
Okay, so October, hold on. October, the dates are the 6th, the 20th, and the 27th.
So the first thing is, and without, we never want to put undue pressure on the applicants unless we feel so strongly that it needs a full board vote. But if would you be willing to ask landmarks to put it off from the 6th to the 20th?
My only issue with that, Jay, is that if I can get landmarks approval by the 3rd, I may be able to close the envelope before the winter time.
Okay, I mean, that's, as I said, we try as much as possible not to interfere with the logistics and moving the process along. So I would revert back to a resolution with recommendations which we will deem acceptable, and if whoever testifies appears on that day, we would present them as such. And assume that you would by the time you get to your hearing, you will have changed the plans to reflect those agreements.
That'll be great. Thank you, Jay.
So, Mark,
I'm comfortable with that.
I think that's a reasonable way to handle it.
Thank you so much.
Paige here. Are there any comments from the neighbors?
There are no neighbors we received nothing in the office, and there's nobody else here.
Okay, that makes it easier.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. I just want to go on record. I think this building is being completely reclad, rebuilt, added to, changed, excavated, decorated, and I'm concerned that we don't have the full board. because this is a minority project. I hear the applicant's frustration, but I don't know if there's going to be another shutdown with the building department. There may be other factors that may impact his not being able to resume construction if COVID comes back, which is as it expects.
I can only work with what I have, Ms. Carol Lily. I can only work with what I have. If
I
COVID
hear
comes
you.
back and there's another shutdown, then that's
I
what I
know.
have to deal with.
All bets are off. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to the chairs of the committee on this. I would always, I mean, I'm the chair of the board. Of course, I prefer a full board vote on everything. But I don't think it's unreasonable for the chairs to take the position that they are. So I will defer on whatever you guys want to do.
Michelle, what's your feeling? I hear what Paige is saying. I guess depending on what the recommendations are that we come up with, and I guess I'd be all right with moving ahead, but what's your feeling?
Well, we don't want to lose our chance to say what we have to say at LPC,
Which we won't.
right? The owner does not want to lose the opportunity, except for things that we can't account for, we can't control. He doesn't want to lose the opportunity with the weather and the work people that he needs to do the job. I think that really, I think we should go forward with our resolution and be as detailed as possible. I agree with Jay that we should put, and Paige, that we should put the recommendations that we would accept. I think that the applicants will come back to us if there's any changes in the next couple of days, and or will say, yes, we've decided, you recommended X, Y, and Z, and we decided to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I trust that this is a process that has to continue, notwithstanding what we have in the rest of the world. And unfortunately, it happens in July, August, and September, that there's sometimes conflicts of scheduling, but I think we should go forward with our resolution.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
So
Now somebody needs to figure out what that resolution is going to say.
yeah, let's go. It would be easier for me to take notes on what our acceptable recommendations are, and maybe we could start with the stoop. And what I have in my notes is that pursuant to Paige's recommendations, the applicant would consider ways to respect the original architect's design.
Well, I guess there's two things that you need to figure out, Michelle, if I may. One is there's a proposal for a straight stoop, and the other is an idea or a recommendation as to a way in which the original design could be accommodated and still meet the requirements of the Department of Transportation and Parks. I think mostly it's transportation, if I'm understanding it correctly. Parks owns the tree, but the tree lives, but the box the tree is in is going to stay there no matter what. Oddly enough, even if the tree
successfully ADA accessible.
Well,
That is correct.
Well,
that's the clearance that they
if
need.
I may,
Yeah.
It is a narrow sidewalk.
I mean, I think that assuming we would approve the straight stoop, on the basis not of necessarily of a preference, but of since it's a compliance issue, and I think we can say so, and I think we can express a preference for the box stoop, and in essence instruct the applicant to explore whether there is in fact a way to do it so that it is feasible and compliant. And in the absence of that, we approve the straight stoop.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think especially the building on well, for two reasons. The building on the left of this one, if I recall my visit today, it has a straight stoop.
That is correct.
That's what the photos showed.
Yeah.
That is correct.
And the other thing is a straight stoop would be so much better than what's there now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should request an exploration.
In
of the
either
box.
case, it's a major positive, so.
My wife
Mhm.
Maggie says that who the heck would go ahead and strip that building
It
this
hurts
way?
me.
It hurts to look at it.
Yeah,
It's
we
a
see a
crime.
lot of them.
Yeah.
So with respect to the stoop, the resolution would be that we have a preference for a box stoop. The applicant and their architects will look at a way to respect the original architect's design and be so that it's feasible and compliant with DOT, the Parks Department, of course, LPC, and ADA.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, and the absence of
The absence of that,
feasibility, in the absence of feasibility and compliance, we would approve the straight scoop.
okay,
Can
The
I,
stoop.
can I add something there?
yes, ma'am.
I think it's brilliantly worded, but I think the distinction between the straight and the box is that the buildings that were similar are to the west, Bag and Neville and Bag, and none of his buildings had straight stoops. I checked our Landmark West database.
Yeah.
So I just want to be very clear that, this is an exception to an exception committee. My recommendation as a community member,
Yes.
that we need to distinguish between could be an adapted reconstruction versus a piece of fiction, because it really does change the ground floor, the way it works. It's not as protected as it would have been with a box.
Yeah, I mean, I think we agree, Paige.
Yeah, I think
and
that's our
there's no
preference.
question that would be the preferable result. We just have to deal with the reality. The
Just to
reality
clarify to all the board, that is our preference as well. If it is
Very good.
feasible, we would do it.
We heard that, yes.
So it's,
Okay.
so that,
Okay,
Okay.
so
that's a stoop.
That's the stoop. Such a great word, stoop. Nowhere else in the country do they
vote
know
on
what that word
first,
is.
so-
No.
all right,
Hey,
next, let's do the rear yard addition.
Want to do that next?
Sure. So in my notes, it is really an application to square off a 3-story L.
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Did I do this rear
the
yard?
current L addition is the same height as the proposed full width addition?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay,
yes.
so say that,
The
Again?
proposal is to do a full width addition, the same height as the current L extension.
yeah. I think if the chairs are planning on entertaining a motion, a segment of the motion to approve the rear yard addition, it
Mhm.
would be with a recommendation which has been accepted by the applicant to replace on the application the glass railings with metal railings.
That's correct.
Not only is it accepted by me, but it's preferred by me, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I prefer the metal versus the glass.
Okay,
We are in
so it would
agreement.
be a matter of presenting that to
Landmarks.
LPC.
Right, correct.
We would argue for that at LPC
Yeah.
as well.
do we have to say anything else about the rear yard addition?
I would like to put in the word for a permeable surface, not stone.
Yes. Or at least a partial permeable.
Mostly.
That would be a recommendation, not a condition, right?
Yes,
Yes.
It's a recommendation.
for the use of permeable material. Including plantings.
Mm-hmm.
Permeable material in the
In
yard.
reference to
Yes,
bluestone.
yeah.
Okay.
I just realized another topic that we've had in the past. Is there going to be lighting in the rear yard?
Good question.
Sorry, I'm a little slow tonight. Not
Oh, thank
to
you.
your committee.
and say that, Paige, and there will be no lighting in the rear?
It's fine to have lighting, but you want night sky lighting, which means that all the lighting is low and environmental, because you don't want it to be blaring. I mean, people do use their backyards in the summer with birthday parties and barbecues, but we don't want flood lighting or spotlighting or whatever.
We will not have floodlights or spotlights.
Okay.
So, but should we put that in our resolution? If they consider lighting in the future, it should be?
Yes.
It should not be floodlighting or spotlighting.
In reality, who's ever going to police this? What are we talking about a few years down the road?
That was my thought, Madge, but whatever.
I think
No,
this is
neighbors will complain. You will hear about it.
We don't like spotlights or floodlights anyway. We'd like to have classy lights on the backyards.
I'm willing to assume,
Flattering
I'm willing to assume good faith.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
There you go, Jim.
Thank you.
That's a good point. Thank you,
The
Paige.
rear yard, although I'm a little conflicted to say, and if they consider lighting in the future, they will not have spot or floodlights. But we can
I think we should just put the lighting, we'll put the lighting into the drawings that we resubmit to you guys in a few days.
Okay, great.
And you guys can see what the lighting's going to be.
Okay, great.
If I'm not mistaken, I think we may have the lighting in the back. And in the facade. I don't remember, but I think it is.
Okay, well, that would be helpful.
But there, you can have wall mounted, you can have pole lighting, as long as it's night sky. That means that you don't see it you don't see the light source. That's what's really needed. And it can be quite lovely. And the neighbors will like it because it adds security to the donut.
Right.
No,
What do you call
I
that,
agree.
Paige? What's the technical term? Sky lighting?
No, night sky. In other words, you can see the night sky when you look up, but you don't trip and fall with your glass of salt.
So the lights are pointed down. The lights have a cover on them and they point down.
Essentially down lighting.
But they're specifically called night sky.
Sounds lovely. Please invite us all over for the first
I would love to. Let me finish this project.
We always say that, Kay, and nobody ever does.
We're such nice people.
Kay, I promise you, I will try my best to remember.
So
Very
let's
nice
just
ribbon
invite
cutting.
Jay.
Let's keep going, guys. Let's keep
With
going.
respect to the
Sorry,
rear
Mark.
yard-
You're right.
So we're up to the roof.
No, I wanted the rear yard. I'm doing the easy stuff first. With respect to the rear yard excavation, it's just going to be to grade.
Yeah, just the grade.
Okay. And now what we've all been waiting for, the rooftop.
Don't forget Mark's alignment on the 4th floor.
Yeah, we can't do it. Landmarks already said.
Yeah, landmarks won't let us do it, Ms.
Wait, we're doing the, say that again?
Just forget it.
Missed something. This goes.
I had an idea, but it turns out that it's been rejected. So let's just leave it as is.
Okay, so with respect to the rooftop addition.
Yeah.
There's you want to deal with the color, both the materials in the front and the back?
Yeah, we
Or are
can
you
do that
comfortable with that?
Material, all right, let's deal with the materials. That's easy. Front, it's
Dark brown
stucco in the
stucco.
front and brick in the back.
brownstone stucco.
Dark brown stucco.
Colored stucco.
Brownstone colored.
Yeah.
Stucco, not brownstone.
Right.
Brownstone colored stucco.
Right.
That's the front, and the back will be all brick.
Essentially
Yes.
a continuation of the brick facade.
Presuming landmarks allows us to do brick.
Yes, of course.
What are the, Jacqueline, what are the side cheeks, the party walls going to be covered with that face its neighbors?
Of the rooftop addition?
Yeah.
This is a good question. I need to ask, I need
Yes.
to ask the architect. I was wondering that myself. I was hoping you wouldn't ask
We
me.
would be continuing the same material on the sides.
Sorry, say again?
We would be continuing the same material, the same stucco finished material on the sides.
So it's stucco.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
What color stucco?
I would say a
Brownstone.
color that matches the brownstone on the front.
Brown colored stucco,
Brownstone color.
brownstone color.
Okay, let's.
Just make sure to say, if you would, I'm so sorry, just make sure to say it's brownstone colored stucco, but not
Yeah.
brownstone material.
Not brownstone.
That makes a
yeah,
difference.
that's what I said.
Writing that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Let's do the rooftop addition now.
I thought that's what we just did.
We are. That was part of it.
Part of it.
Could you
There's
guys
no other-
do the
there's no
railing
other,
throughout?
If you guys are comfortable with those materials, then I haven't heard any other suggestions, so it'd just be to approve, right?
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you mention the metal railings throughout on the rear?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We have that.
That was for the rear page.
Yes, I didn't hear that it was on the list.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have that as,
Replacing the proposal for glass railings with metal railings.
On both the top of the third floor and the top of the fourth floor.
Right. All of them,
I have that on the top third and fourth floor.
Right. We got that.
We could, just let's make
Yes.
sure to differentiate the rear from the front. I apologize if we can.
Yes.
Hold on for a second.
While she's writing, what color are the windows on the front and the back?
Oh, good.
Black.
Good. That's the correct answer.
Thank you. Finally one. I'm kidding.
And that's the front and the back?
Yes,
Yes.
Good.
yes.
What kind of windows?
Yeah. are
The
they
front are
window-
gonna have Pella windows that are the architectural series with the wood.
Wood.
And
Wood. Okay.
it'd be
Aluminum clad wood?
No.
correct. No.
Oh,
The
Wood.
front, all wood.
Good.
Beautiful.
That's another right answer. You're moving
Yeah.
out now, folks.
Yeah, you
Thank you.
actually making Paige happy. I can't believe it.
Thank you.
Great.
Tell your neighbors about how great it is.
Right,
That's
right.
working tonight. And the back windows,
Black
Thank-
also.
Also wood?
No, the
Metal.
black, the back are gonna be aluminum clad in the back. Black.
Again, a third right answer.
Thank you.
Making a different score here.
Get a
Dave
prize.
says I have no humor.
Thank you so much.
Are we ready to vote?
I
Your
think we are ready
reputation.
to
I think we're ready to vote.
Now I'm gonna call the roster, and if you agree to all, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So it's one resolution to approve all the things with those conditions, right?
Right.
Or not conditions, recommendations, I'm sorry.
Right.
Recommendations.
Madge,
Yes.
Kay,
Yes.
Sue she left? Yeah, she had to left.
Susan's gone.
I'm a yes. Peter,
Yes,
thank you. So I think that's everybody on the committee, so. it's-
Jay,
No, you didn't call me.
Oh, and I did
Well,
that again.
That's why I keep telling you that J comes before K. So you won't
Yes,
forget.
yes, we know, we know.
I'm sorry. Jay?
Yes.
Thank you. So the resolution passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 0 to 0 to 0 by committee. Now, non-committee board members, Paige,
Yes,
Doug Kleiman,
Yes.
thank you, and Mr. Diller.
yes.
So the resolution passes 3 to 0 to 0 to 0 by non-committee board members. Thank you very much. You said this is calendared on October 6th. You said, Ms. Perdue-Vallon, you're
Call me
gonna-
Jackie. It's fine. Thanks.
It's a great name.
Thanks.
Yeah. That you're gonna
Yeah.
send us an email to confirm some of those recommendations.
Yes.
And anybody else have any other questions?
Oh,
We did
All
what
right.
we came to do.
Yeah. So I appreciate everybody's input. Thank you very much, Paige. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Mr. Diller. Thank you, team members and
We
applicants.
appreciate everyone's time and effort in this. I really do. Thank you so much
Yes.
for taking the
Really
time
wish
Thank
the
you
to
all.
assist us.
Welcome.
And I look forward
And-
to joining the neighborhood. Thank you so much.
All right.
Have
Welcome,
lots of
neighborhood.
kids.
If the committee could hang on for just one more minute, I would be grateful.
So
Okay,
we'll,
Okay.
we'll be in touch in a few days. Thank you all very
Okay.
much.
very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
you.
All right, how do I leave?
So we have upcoming the budget, the district needs statement and the budget priorities. In some years, we ask for the budget to consider additional staff for LPC. This year, the budget has going to be, they're talking about laying off tens of thousands of city workers. So I don't think this is the year in which we ought to be asking for more. We just should be trying to protect what we've already got. So with that, would it be acceptable to the committee members to leave it, to not have a budget recommendation with respect to this committee?
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Mark, typically in the past, we would reflect what landmarks told us they needed.
Which is going to be tomorrow during budget. The LPC is coming tomorrow to budget consultations. But unless they come in with a story that I don't expect to push back on them.
Yeah,
Right.
thanks for that information.
Tend to think that's correct.
What's up, Paige?
Sorry, Cindy sent me both DOB and landmarks to review. My only concern is that in your meeting, if landmarks can be candid to tell us what it is that we want to support them to keep, because in the past they've been stripped as a non-essential environmental review, as it were. So
Okay.
I just caution that and let the committee know, or the community board, so we know what we should support.
Great. Cindy's been great about sending around to everybody as many of those responses from the agencies as she's gotten. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm glad that you got them too. Okay, so that's a fair point, and that fits right in with what we were saying. We're not trying to add staff. We're just trying to keep what we already have.
Right.
All right.
Very good. All right, that's all I've got. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Thanks so much.